1825 family, week 2 of Love Month. And like I said, I've got a lineup of people ready to give you an arsenal of information so that you can be equipped to deal with your relationship status. Or if you're young and married, then this is the night for you. Or if you want to be young and married, this is a night for you. I brought in John and Kristen Buckner. I have been friends with them for the longest time. Kelly and myself, we have known them for so many years. They've been church planners. They've been life, health, and wellness coaches. They have been married for 13 years. They've got 3 amazing children. They're great communicators. They have such an awesome chemistry as a couple. And guess what? They have a heart and a passion for young people to have thriving relationships. Whether that's dating, whether that's in marriage, whatever facet that could look like, even great friendships. And guess what? They're going to be launching our Young and Marrieds group for 20-somethings. That's correct. We can't be any more excited because we know that we've had so many couples throughout the history of our ministry that we need a place to connect. We need a group that we can vibe with. We need to know, where is our tribe? Where is our community? Well, we've got them for you. In the month of March, we're going to be launching this Young and Marrieds group hosted by John and Kristen Buckner. So make sure that you listen, you learn, and begin to expand your knowledge of how to have a thriving relationship in dating, in marriage, and for the rest of your life. Let's go, 1825. Let's get it done. 1825 family. We've got a treat for you tonight. I know I already introduced them to you before, but I can't resist but do it again. This is John and Kristen Buckner. They're gonna be heading up our new Young and Marrieds group for 20-somethings. If you are young and you are married, this is for you. If you're engaged, this group is gonna be for you. We're excited for what they're gonna bring to the table in 2021. And guess what? You guys don't need to hear from me. I have the utmost confidence in this amazing power couple right here. And they're going to give you right now 5 essential values to put into your life before you commit to a long-term relationship. So right now, get ready, lean in, get your Bible, get your notebooks, and tune in as they teach you 5 essential values before you commit. John, Kristen, take it away.
Wow, power couple.
Let's go.
It's always like the pressure
intro
when someone says that, right? So, no, we're excited just to be with you digitally and virtually and all that kind of stuff. But we love teaching together. Like you said, my name is John. This is Kristen. I'll let you talk about yourself.
I thought she was John.
No.
Yeah, that's the switch up here. That's
Okay,
a surprise.
got
No. Hey, you guys, we're super glad to be with you. Just a little bit about us before we jump in. We have been married almost 13 years now, which seems like a long time, but it goes real fast. We've got 3 kids, ages almost 11, almost 9, and 6. And so we're busy with all the things that come with having kids that age, but we love it and are love being plugged in here at Bayside and excited about this new venture, this Young Marrieds ministry that's developing here at Bayside. We're excited to be a part of it. That's definitely our heart and our passion.
Yeah, totally. And I think, we talk about young marrieds and we've been married this long, and you may be out there and you might be a young married. You might be new in this married adventure. Maybe you're engaged. Maybe you're not. You're single and you're looking to mingle. But what we're going to talk about really applies to anybody. Yeah. Wherever you're at. Because here's the thing I know about people is we want to be with other people, whether that's in relationship with friends, whether that's relationship in dating, eventually marriage. There's a desire that I believe God put in us to be connected with other people.
Sure.
And these commitments we want to talk about, these things to consider before maybe you jump into a commitment. Maybe you are single and you're like, you've had your eye on that person. Maybe you had coffee dates and you're like, is this the one? There's some things to consider. There's some things to consider before you make some of those commitments, whether it's even a dating commitment. Maybe it is that next step in asking them to marry you, whatever it is. There's things that we want to talk about that even if we were to look back, like she said, I've been married almost 13 years. If we look back and say, hey, what would I say to myself 13, 14 years ago before we jumped into this? Don't answer, right? Don't answer. I'll answer for me, but no, what would I say to myself when I'm looking to make that commitment, that next step? What are some things that I would tell myself? And hopefully it'll help you. I don't know, but that's what we want to talk about.
Exactly. And there's a phrase that John and I have I can't say we coined it because we borrowed it.
I wish we did.
But I know, me too.
I'll give you the credit.
Yeah, thank you. And then we'll get sued somewhere for saying it. But begin as you mean to go. I actually took it from a parenting book years ago when we were about to have our first child, and we've kind of adopted it into our life for all different areas. This idea of begin as you mean to go. Thinking about where you want your life to be, what you want things to look like for yourself in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Sure, a lot of that stuff is out of our control. And in the season that you're in right now, you might go, I can't even think that far ahead. But thinking about the things that you can control and the things that you do want to make sure are in place. How can you start now with where you want to be then? And a lot of that comes true when it comes to relationships, is looking at the beginning and saying, okay, if this is a relationship that I want to have, what you picture your marriage to look like, or picture a future relationship to look like, how can you start being prepared for that now so that when you get there, it actually looks how you want it to look?
Kristen often tells me she could have never prepared herself for how great our marriage would be.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's
That never.
what we talk about
Those are things I
all
just
the
tell
time.
myself. But no, like literally this mindset of thinking about where is it you want to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. And, we're talking in the context of a relationship possibly, but you can apply this to anything. I was thinking about it even last night. My son has been doing online baseball training. He's 10, almost 11 years old. He would tell you right now he wants to play college baseball. He's preparing now for what he wants to do when he's 18, 19, 20 years old. And that's the same mentality we're thinking of when we talk about this begin as you mean to go. What kind of relationship do you want to have?
Right.
When you think about your life someday being married, what does that look like? Like, begin to dream a little bit about what it's like when you've been married 5 years. In fact, I remember on our honeymoon, we were having dinner one night and we said, hey, what do we want our marriage and our family unit to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? We set goals on our honeymoon about how we wanted our kids to be when they were in high school, and we didn't even have kids yet. And so that's kind of the mentality when you think about, where do I want to be? Who do I want to be with? What type of person? How can I start being the type of person I want to be and looking for that type of person now?
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, it's in the same vein, but maybe thinking about what you don't want to recreate.
Yeah, totally.
Unfortunately, a lot of us maybe find ourselves in those scenarios of, I don't really know what I do want at this point. I sure as heck know what I don't want. Maybe from your experience, from what you saw of your parents. I can say that that's true of myself. I experienced a lot of divorce. I knew coming into our relationship some things that I for sure didn't want to recreate that I had already seen, and then some really great things as well. So your viewpoint on it might look different as well, coming from, hey, I don't want to make those same mistakes or take the same path that I've seen that's gone before me. That might kind of even shift what you go right now. Okay, how are you going to set yourself up to make sure that those are not things that you're redoing in your own life?
Totally. And I want to just add with that, as you were saying that, I had the thought, your past doesn't have to dictate your future.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So some of you may be sitting here going, yeah, but you don't know some of the choices I've made, and that's going to impact my future. It doesn't have to. Like, we serve a God that redeems us, that washes us, that gives us a hope in a future. And maybe it wasn't your past. Maybe it wasn't your choices. Maybe it was something somebody else did to you. Kristen talked about coming from a past of seeing divorces. I come from a past where my dad committed suicide when I was 13 years old. So I didn't have that father figure to guide me and be an example for me of what it is to be a godly husband, as I got older. So, but here's the thing I want to encourage you with is, if you seek the right type of mentorship or examples, you can learn how to be a great husband or a great wife. And if you're looking in the right areas, and that's some of the things we want to talk about as we kind of dive into this, is what should I consider before I jump into a commitment? Maybe it's a dating commitment, like we said. And the first thing we were talking about this is, what is that saying they say about, like, two halves make a whole?
Right. Like,
we actually want to debunk
50-50.
that. Right. Like, we kind of want to debunk that and say, like, two halves actually don't make a whole when it comes to a committed relationship.
Right.
Two whole people make one really great, healthy relationship. And really a really great, healthy commitment.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you, in your dating or in your singleness, whatever that looks like where you're at right now, is you want to get to a point where you are so secure and confident on your own and who you are and who you are in Christ that you don't need somebody else to come in and complete you, because it sounds like a really good idea, but that's not actually going to happen. We have our own mess, right? Like, John has so many issues on his own. No, I'm kidding.
I don't need help from somebody else.
We have our own stuff, right? We have our own baggage. We don't need to bring all of our messed up stuff and say, hey, I need you to fix the other half
Right.
of me. We've got to come, and yes, we still bring our hurts and our hangups sometimes, but we need to bring ourselves in our wholeness, complete and secure in who we are and who we are
good.
in Jesus together before it's ever going to work
Right.
the way that we're wanting it to
This
work.
is gonna like age me, but like that movie Jerry Maguire, which all of you are probably like, "Ooh, what?" That shows you how old I am. But like in that movie, became famous, right? It's like you complete me, like this relationship. And honestly, like society, social media, movies, all these things have given us this message that we need somebody else to complete us, to make us who we should be. And really, nobody can make you who you are except for the one who created you, right? Nobody has a right to tell you what your worth is except for the one who created you.
Yeah.
And Jesus already created you, gave you a destiny. And when you begin to understand who you are in Christ, then you can actually be prepared to be who you're supposed to be in a committed relationship.
Right.
And Kristen and I, through different things, and you're always going to be a work in progress, right? Like there's always something we
Amen.
can get better at. That was a little too loud of an amen. There's always things that we can grow in. We want to be people of progress and pursuing growth.
Right.
But as a single person or somebody looking at a commitment you want to make, something to consider is how can I look to Christ to give me my identity, give me my worth? Because if I'm looking for somebody else to give me my worth or my value, the truth is I'm going to be let down. I mean,
Yeah.
raise your hand if you've been let down by somebody before. Like I would bet that's all of us.
Right.
And you don't have to amen this too loud, but I'm sure I've let you down a time or two
Sure.
in our marriage.
Not much,
And
just a few.
so it's just that idea of looking at who am I in Christ and understanding I'm a child of God. That is my identity. And when those two whole people in Christ come together, they make one healthy relationship.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, number 2, I really like this one. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them.
Yes.
This one might sting a little bit because you might be kind of going through your head thinking, oh, I don't know. But think about that. When the person that you're, considering dating or like maybe it's getting really serious and you are looking at engagement, or maybe you even are engaged. Like, who is that person when they are under the fire, when they're under pressure? How do they treat their mom? Like, that's a big deal kind of step. How do they treat their friends?
That's true.
How do they treat their waitress or their waiter at a restaurant? Like, that's been such a big deal to me because how you treat one person inevitably is how you're going to treat all people. And so I think it's important to look at those ways that the person you're seeing or considering dating, even if they're just a friend, how do they respond under pressure? What is that saying of like, if you're carrying a cup and it gets bumped, whatever comes out is just naturally what's spilling out. Like,
That's
what's
good.
going on in here that when they're bumped or rattled or shaken a little bit, what's going to pour out of them? You want to know that before you put a ring on it. I'm
Come
telling
on.
you that much right now.
Come on.
Well, you can tell them not to. This is going to sound like I want you to brag on me, which
Go ahead.
that's fine.
That's
It's
fine.
okay. It's
But
all right.
you could tell them about like
It's
when we
love
went
month.
out
We'll
and the
do it.
car ran out of gas.
Yeah,
like
so
one of
like-
the things that actually spoke to you about.
Yes, on our very second date. I mean, this isn't sounding like, it's not starting like a brag, John.
It's funny to me.
Our second date ever, I don't even remember what we were doing, but John had a truck and I think we were going to dinner or something. And we were hitting this point, we're kind of going up a hill over some railroad tracks, and he slows down the car and kind of pulls over and just starts laughing. I'm like, what are you laughing at? What's funny? And he's like,
It's
I
still
totally
funny.
just ran out of gas. And I was like, you're kidding, you did not. And he's like, no, I'm totally dead serious. Like, I think you're gonna have to get out and help me push the car
So I had her push it.
over the railroad thing because he had to steer it because I physically
I
was
pushed
not
a little bit.
strong
Come
enough
on.
or like big enough to get up and steer it.
Wow.
So I'm pushing the truck.
Wow.
But here is the funny thing. Most of you would have been like, out. But the funny thing is that in my experience, and this is not a knock, this is just something that is true for my life. Like my dad or a family member in those kind of instances would have freaked out and lost their cool. There would have been words flying and anger and frustration because the car was out of gas. And it would have been a really like, oh, just don't say anything, don't step on eggshells kind of situation. And in that moment, him laughing his head off about something that quite frankly I didn't think was too funny either, made it funny. And it was like, it broke some walls in me and going, okay, I like how this guy responded to that conflict because it really wasn't that big of a deal. I took note of that very, very early on in our relationship because I saw what I didn't want over here with maybe some anger or just really sweating the small stuff a lot. And when he didn't do that, it was like, okay, but I was paying attention. It's so key to pay attention to those kind of things because a lot will be shown to you just through action. And so when somebody shows you who they really are, believe them. We don't want to make excuses for someone or, oh, they were just this or they were just that. You're going to see what comes out.
That's
when
good.
somebody's under stress or in a situation like that, you're going to see the true.
Well, and the reality with it is before you get into a commitment, you see these things, it's only going to be magnified the stronger the commitment gets.
Yes.
So I'll take you get into a dating relationship, you're going to see a little bit more. Eventually you get into a marriage relationship, you're really going to see it.
Yeah.
And so if there's red flags in their character, that should be sending off alarms because I've heard this quote that says how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you see them maybe fudging something, cheating something a little bit, or just something that's not that integrous, just take note of those things. Be cautious. Yeah. Consider, do I want to go down the road in a commitment with this person who seems to not have the character that lines up? Trust them when they show you who they are. Because you can believe it. You can take it to the bank, as they say. So continuing on. This is a big one. And this is where don't elbow the person next to you or look at your girlfriend down the road and be like, see, this is what I told you about. But this is one I see often. Especially kind of in the church setting when people look for certain standards they have in a relationship, right?
Yep.
I'm sure all of you have a certain standard. Maybe there's a certain type of guy that you normally look at and you're like, oh, that one catches my eye. Maybe there's a certain humor that kind of attracts you to somebody else. But all of us have standards, right? And one of the things I just want to encourage you to consider is not to justify or make justifications because you really like somebody if there's a red flag that you see. Right. Too many times we justify things and think, oh, they'll work that out. Or, oh, that'll change when we start dating, right? And we begin to justify certain behaviors, actions, maybe even belief systems. We justify that, well, they just weren't raised like me. If they keep hanging around me long enough, maybe they'll be open to this God thing that maybe it was a standard for you that you wanted to date someone who was a believer in Jesus. You're like, that's a standard. But then this dude is really, really cute, but he doesn't love Jesus. And you're like, maybe if I just hang out with her, he's around my friends, maybe he'll be interested in this God thing. Yep. And we begin to justify slowly. And before we know it, we're in this commitment and we've lowered our standards. And what happens when you begin to lower a standard in one area, all other standards begin to follow. Yep. Right? I've heard a great phrasing says that you don't raise to the level of your motivation, you fall to the level of your lowest habit. So those habits you create in your life, those standards that you live by, that's what you're going to fall on. And so you have to create disciplines, standards in your life that we don't justify just because in the moment something seems to emotionally spark something in us.
Yeah. And either, one of two things are going to happen there if you're justifying certain behaviors, whether it is based on faith or other things. You are either going to be so burnt out for trying to get them to do more of the things that you want. You're going to be trying so hard, striving so hard, which is not good or fun for anyone. Or you're going to do just like what John said, and you're going to lower your standards. You're going to be allowing yourself to be pulled down. The person that you are spending time with or in a relationship should enhance the good things about you, not pull you down to the other things. My sister is 24 and just got married a year and a half ago. And one of the things that I had pointed out, as a sister, I'm looking at her and I'm looking at her soon-to-be spouse and I'm, eyeing up the situation. Do I think this guy's good for her? And do I like him? And does he fit into the family? All the things that a very judgmental sister should do. No, I'm kidding. I'm protective of her. And one of the things that stood out to me so much, I told my mom, is I said, he really just makes her better. Yeah. All of the good things about her are actually even enhanced more because he brings that out of her. He challenged her in the areas that she could be challenged in, but he uplifted her in the areas that she was already really good at. Those are qualities that I think are so important. And when we get into that justifying behavior, we lose that because we're just trying to make them this person that maybe they're just not.
Right. It's really, I think about, those verses of building your foundation on a solid rock. And lowering our standards really is like building a foundation on sand. Because eventually storms, life, things are going to come against that. And if your standards have been lowered or built on a weak foundation, your life's going to crumble.
Yeah.
And you're going to be looking back on, oh my gosh, why did I do this? And so really it's kind of the idea of these considerations are helping you build your life on a solid foundation. We believe that foundation is Christ. We believe it's his word that gives us those standards. And so that's why when we begin to justify things in people's lives, we're not saying, hey, cut that person out, but it's maybe be cautious about the commitment you're looking to get into.
Yeah.
And even you talking about being a judgmental sister, I know you're joking, but it kind of leads to the next thing, is be open to advice from other people. Mm-hmm. One of the best things you can do is listen to other people who maybe see things from a different point of view than you.
Yeah. Right. And you want to pay attention to the people that you know care the most about you, that
Right.
have your back. We can find anybody to tell us what we want to hear, right? But the people who are close to you, the people that matter the most to you, what do they have to say about the person that you're kind of talking to or maybe interested in? Are they looking at you and why are you with that guy? Why are you with that girl?
Right.
Listen to that stuff. I know it's irritating. I know it's frustrating. We probably have all been there in some scenario or not. You want to do what you want to do, and it's irritating when somebody's telling you not to. But you want to remember that the people that are in your corner might be seeing things that you're just not seeing, and it's so important to be able to listen to the advice. It doesn't mean that you do exactly what they say or take every word verbatim, but allow that to play in, because when we're talking about commitment in relationship and we're talking about the long haul, which is leading towards marriage and all the things that come with it, you want to make sure that you've taken the advice of the people around you, because it's a long journey. It's amazing. Marriage is so fantastic. That's what I want to say.
Say that again.
Yeah,
say it again.
Exactly, for the people in the back. I want to say that because a lot of it we can be like, well, don't talk to this person. That make sure you watch that. No, marriage is designed to be fantastic, and it is. But you want to make sure that it's fantastic with the right person, or it's not going to be that fantastic. And so it is worth it to do the homework, if you will, on the front end of this relationship, listening to what other people are encouraging you, so that you don't find yourself going, oh shoot, I should have listened to my mom. Or I should have listened to that friend or that mentor, the person that tried to speak into that and I didn't listen.
Right. I mean, the Bible talks about it, wisdom being wisdom, the counsel of many, right? Like heeding the word of other people. And I think about it like our car right now has like the security systems and the safety systems. And so like if cars nowadays, I mean, you can let go of the wheel and if it veers, like that side vibrates and it pulls you back, straightens up the car, right?
Yep.
That's kind of what I think about when I think about listening to advice from others. Because even in your car, in the rearview mirrors, you can't see every single blind spot.
Right.
You can't see all the things. I might think I have a lane to get over and move my car over, but there might be a car in my blind spot. And when we listen to the advice of other people, people who've been there, done that, people who've walked that road before, maybe people who've seen this person that maybe you want to get in a commitment, they've seen them in different settings. And their advice might be a warning signal to you, something in your blind spot that, because let's be honest, when you think someone's good looking and you see them and they're funny and they're the life of the party, we don't always see things clearly, right? Like, I mean, you probably couldn't even think straight the first time you saw me, right? No, I'm just kidding.
I see what this is a daily basis. This is what I'm talking about.
Be cautious. But it's listening to people that, one, care about you. And that's a key thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to just listen to someone who's bitter, angry. People that care about you and have your best interest at heart.
That's good.
Your family, your friends, your pastor, your small group leader, whatever it is, those people that you trust that have your best interest and your best future in their heart, if they're giving you words of caution, if they're giving you advice, it's best to listen to it. Because I'll tell you this, a heartache now, because maybe that relationship didn't go the way you want, is way better than pain later in a commitment that you're stuck in. And so many times people don't listen to advice and they get themselves in a commitment and now they feel stuck in something that really, it just begins chains. It feels like you're locked in something that you can't get out of. And so it's better to maybe experience a little heartache because it didn't go the way you want, or, oh man, I wish that one would. But you're going to look back later and be like so thankful that didn't work out the way it did because you listened to the advice of friends and family.
That's really good.
That's good. All right, the last one of these 5 considerations before you commit. Last one seems so simple, but just be you. Be yourself. Are you in a relationship where you are able to just be yourself? And you know what? This comes down to friendship too. this can be in all relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Are you able to just be you? If you cannot be unapologetically you and authentically you with the person you're with or the friend circle that you're with, then find a new person, find a new group, because you want to be able to be exactly who God created you to be, quirks and humor and goofiness and all, with the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with or spend a lot of time with.
For sure. I think about like how tiring it would be to be somebody different, right? Because in different circles, you're trying to put on whatever front you need to put on.
Right.
And when you're doing that in a relationship, you're constantly living this life of being somebody you're not. And I mean, that's exhausting.
Right.
And I know when we first started dating, that was one of the things they said is they're like, you guys are just you when you're together.
Yeah.
Like you can be in fact, so much so you're going to love this one.
I know where you're going
you know
with
where
this.
I'm going.
With your mom?
I'm going to drop some knowledge on
Oh
them.
my
And they're going to be
gosh,
like, no way.
I knew you were going to go with this. And I'm
They're
like,
gonna
please,
say,
let's not go this
and just,
direction.
we didn't plan all this, so we're just throwing these stories in.
Here we go.
But no, they're going to be like, I'm going to drop some knowledge on them. They're going to be like, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I didn't know it about me either.
We
Here
literally had just early on started dating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kristen, in our early kind of talking dating stages, had gone to Vanguard University. Shout out Bayside Orange
Bayside,
County.
Yeah, come on.
Said she had gone there for a brief moment and took a dance class, right? Was it a hip hop dance
It
class?
was a hip hop class.
Uh-oh.
Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
you corrected me like I should know that.
Hip-hop.
A hip hop dance class. So she's back home, right? And we're at my house. I'm not even there, am I? Or I had walked out. She's
You were
with my
gone.
mom.
Maybe I should tell the story.
Tell the story.
You weren't
'cause
there. All right,
still
I'd taken
kind of-
a hip hop class.
It still
okay?
kind of
I
hurts
had
me a
to
little.
take it. Had a few friends. We had a good time. A lot of laughs. But I learned what would be the similarness of breakdancing, okay? I don't say
Maybe
that I
not if
did
you
it
saw
well. If you saw it, it probably wouldn't be what you called breakdancing.
It was
But
more
I
what we
had
call
to do
seizure
it.
dancing.
I had to do it for the final, so I had to have this routine down. And John was somewhere, I don't even know where he was, and I was at his house with his mom, and this was one of the first times I had spent any time with his mother. So like, this is my future mother-in-law. We were not engaged, just dating. First time I'm kind of meeting her, and he leaves, which I look back, I'm like, thanks for that. You just left me there with your mom.
You're
But
not making me look good.
but we were comfortable. We were comfortable with each other. And this is how comfortable I was. You guys, I black out when I think about what actually happened to get to this point. I don't know how I ended up on the floor breakdancing for his mother, just she and I in the living room. I don't know.
I think I
what
came
took
into
place.
you mid-routine.
Oh
I
my
don't know
goodness.
how this happened, okay? We look back and laugh, and I'm like, how did I get to that? She's like, I have no idea. I don't remember. We both blocked it out. But
But
I
I'll
did. We laughed. His mom and
Yes.
I laughed our heads off.
To this
While
day.
I showed her, we still laugh about it, while I showed her this ridiculous routine that I wasn't even good at. And John walked in and was like, what on God's green earth is happening in here with my mom? What are you doing to my
For
mom?
my mom.
But it's who we were. I was unapologetically goofy and stupid because that's just who I am. We like to have fun. We like to laugh. And I was able to be like that with John, and I was able to be like that with his mom because I
Totally.
was so comfortable with
Well,
John.
and that's what I'll say too. Like my mom told me she knew that was the moment we were going to get married.
So
It's
maybe you
because
just need to do some
she said-
breakdancing. I don't know.
So if you're like, how can I move this relationship forward? Maybe some
a little
breakdancing.
1-2 step.
I don't know. Maybe that's what you need. The old school Vans, throw them on and spin on your head. Get some cardboard.
There you go.
But I know my mom was like, because she could be herself.
Yeah.
She saw that in you. And honestly now, if we were in a group of friends, you're like, you really did breakdance? She'd probably get down and do some breakdancing for you because that's who she is. Not a breakdancer, but she likes to have fun. She's herself.
That's
awesome.
Both of us can come together, be authentically us. And that's a huge thing too, not to drag out the point, but even in front of other people.
Yeah.
Both of us, me with her family and her with my family, we can be who we really are.
Right.
We don't have to put on a front. And that's such a major thing because it goes back to the beginning. That begin as you mean to go.
Right.
And recognizing your value comes from your creator. God created you and he created whoever it is you're looking to get into a commitment with.
Right.
And when both of you understand that you are created by a loving God who has a plan and a purpose, not just for your life, but for your future partner's life, your marriage life, your
That's good.
kids in the future. God has a perfect plan for those things. And when you both understand that, you come together and make one healthy relationship that's God honoring, God can bless, and you can be who you're created to be.
Yeah.
Unapologetically and authentically. When you begin as you mean to go and you look at where do I want to be personally, in a committed relationship, in a marriage. Where do I want to be? What can you start doing now to be the person you want to be? That's really the question.
Exactly right. And before we hand it over to Blake here in just a second, I just want to celebrate the fact that you've even put yourself in this community to help you grow and point you on those steps to becoming the person you want to be, in the relationships you want to be in. The fact that you're surrounding yourself with other like-minded individuals and being a part of this community is really the first step. I mean, you maybe have heard it said, like, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. That is so true. It might sound cliche, but look at the people that you're spending time with. They are either moving you forward towards who you want to be or pulling you back from that destiny you have. And so congrats to you for being part of this community. I encourage you to continue to engage and jump in because there's so much support here, regardless of whatever stage you're in.
Yeah, totally.
Fantastic. That was top level content. And if you didn't write that down in your notes, if you're not going to schedule a tattoo appointment right now for that reminder, you're doing a disservice to yourself and your future spouse. So thank you so much for stopping by. Look forward into the month of March. Our hope is that's going to be the launching pad and the launching point for our young and marrieds group led by John and Kristen Buckner. I'm so excited for what lies ahead for you, for their ministry, for our ministry, for all the 20-somethings represented here. If you're dating, if you're engaged, if you're married, we've got a place for you. I look forward to connecting with you throughout the course of Love Month and see you in March.